Good morning, listeners. This is the Colonel and Mr. Bigg, episode number 9, our Christmas special. We have some very special guests today. Mike, introduce your special guest.
Well, I happened to find this hooker walking down the streets of Toma. So actually, Jill is here with me, my wife of 37 years. And Tommy, who do you have next to you?
Well, this lady came knocking at the door last night asking for food, and I couldn't resist. I had to invite her in, and she stayed the night, and so we're here this morning. But this is my lovely wife, Kenny. We've been married 35 years, and it seems like 55, but it's a 35 blissful year. It's great to have all of us on here together. It's going to be difficult to talk without being very sexually explicit.
I think we could be more sexually explicit.
No.
And we've got one member of our family locked in the office, and if you hear him barking in the background, that's why.
He's not happy.
I don't think he would have sat in Penny's lap the whole time. He might have, but we didn't want to try it, so.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Did you want to read our sponsors first?
I will. It sounds like we got a new sponsor, but one of our old faithful sponsors, Healthy Preludes, Anna Smart, just outside of Elroy, Wisconsin. And I always try to pull a product from her list. And I found this one I think's been very to this time of the year. It's her cold sore and shingles viral balm. I don't know who comes up with these names, but they're pretty unique. But this product's locally grown and foraged Melissa lemon balm and 100% pure frankincense resin infused into hemp seed oil, blended with kokum butter, beeswax, vitamin E, cayenne, and essential oils of melissa, bergamot, clove, geranium, turmeric, and lavender. And of course, all those are plants, so melissa is a plant. It says apply to areas of any viral rash, herpes, cold sores, shingles, blue balls, and gonorrhea. No, it doesn't say that. Never mind. 1 ounce works great applied to any rash area, so it possibly could work down there below the waist. Use multiple times a day or in an area you feel being infected to prevent a flare-up. Good for, no, I already said that. So that's healthyprelude.com, or again, www.theshitsthebalm.com. So go on there and check. It's too late to get this product for Christmas, but it certainly would be great for the New Year's, and maybe you want to start. We've talked about getting rid of your wrinkles, now getting rid of your shingles and your rashes, and all this product will make your body look great. Check it out.
Yep. And we also have Trailview Meats that we're pushing local businesses. And Trailview Meats is located on Highway 71, about 2 to 3 miles outside of Elroy towards Kendall, Wisconsin. And the owner is Cody Vossen. We've known Cody, and you've known Cody for years, and we purchased all of our ground beef from him. And we've also had their roasts. And what we like about, utilizing and buying our meats from Trailview Meats is that we know exactly what the cattle are being fed, and they're not being injected with a bunch of crap that's going to make you sick. But I'm going to post Trailview Meats, their menu. They've got ground beef in 1 and 2 pound packages at $6 a pound. And in steaks, they sell ribeyes, porterhouse, T-bones, sirloins, New York strips, tenderloin, flanks, skirts, and then they have chuck roast, prime ribs, and a bunch of other things. And I'll post this menu on our podcast. And again, Trailview Meats just outside of Elroy. And Cody Vossen is the owner. And if you are interested, contact Cody or get a hold of Tom or me, and we can get you Cody's number and send you on your way.
Mike, do you know will he ship out?
We have actually hauled it out of state. So we hauled it down to Alabama. I don't know if Cody would ship. I don't think he has the capabilities to do that, but when we come down to see it, we could use our Yeti.
Okay. I'm just thinking if people down here wanted to order some we have also people down here that does the same thing, which probably most local people would buy from them. But I was just curious if he did. I mean, I know a lot of places like Omaha Steaks has been doing it for years. They just ship it in dry ice. They ship in dry ice. They pack it so the meat's not affected by the dry ice, and they ship it in dry ice.
Yeah, I don't know if Cody's doing that yet. I know he's supplying all the hamburger over to Hillsborough Brewing Company. So if you go over there and eat, that's all his burger. But I don't think he's shipping it, but we will check with him. And of course, when we come down to see it, we could always bring some.
Sure. Great. Yeah. Did he play with Sam and Jake, or did he play with both of them basketball?
Yep, he was
Okay.
on. He played with both. He was in Jake's class and played with both Sam and Jacob, and was part of the state team. That he
Okay,
was
great.
instrumental in the sectional final game up at on Alaska. He hit some key free throws at the end of the game. To we were
Right.
there
Yep, I
to
remember that. Yeah.
push us down to state. Yeah, yep. So our Christmas special.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a few traditions here to start, I guess. I don't know. I kind of went back to my childhood and thought about some Christmas traditions that we had when I was a kid. My aunt and uncle raised me, and one of the traditions was that all my aunts, I had six aunts, and they kind of all took time taking care of me. But my aunt Carrie, I'll never forget. Her daughter lived with her whole life. She never got married, and she worked at General Electric, I believe it was, telephone, and she had a lot of money. So you go down there at Christmas, and the whole side of their room was all the way about 6 foot high, just nothing but Christmas presents. I remember going in there seeing that, and I thought, oh my God. But she had a present for every nephew there was. So you would always go down the day of Christmas Eve, not the evening, but the day of Christmas Eve, and you'd get a present there. And then you'd go home, and my aunt that I lived with would always let us open one gift on Christmas Eve night before we went to bed, so that we could have a gift. So that and the next day we would of course eat a good meal. Two things that she always made was homemade pies, and she made meringue pies with a meringue about 8 foot high, 8 inches high, and I used to love that stuff. I can't stand meringue pies now, but I used to love that. And then my uncle loved oyster stew, and she back then oysters were expensive too, and you couldn't hardly afford them. But for Christmas, she would buy oysters and make oyster stew. And then we would always go to church Christmas Eve and sometimes on Christmas Day in the afternoon. So we always went to church. So those are some things I remember as a kid. Penny, how about you? You remember things as a kid?
Well, being just me and my dad, I mean, we always went to my aunt's house for Christmas. But one of the things I remember most was I think my dad knew I needed more of that family experience. So I had a friend that I met in fifth grade, and every year I would go to her house for Christmas Eve and spend the night. And so her brother and I would always sneak downstairs to see what Santa had left under the tree. That was like our family annual tradition every year. But so I would always go to their house for Christmas Eve, and then my dad would pick me up like halfway through Christmas Day, and then we'd go to see my aunts. But I think he just knew I needed that family type atmosphere with all the kids and everything because they had four kids. And I just remember that unique experience. And they were Catholic, and so they always did the Advent wreath with all the candles. And I used to love that. There was just something about that tradition where you would light the different candles each week, before Christmas.
How about you guys when you're kids?
Jill.
Well, I'm trying to think here. When I think about Christmas as a kid, I was always the first one down the stairs. Mom would yell up and say, "Girls, are you ready?" Because she would have that darn video camera, that was eventually it was the real to real.
The
So
giant
you'd have
one
the yeah, with the light bar that had four bright light bulbs. So, you're walking into the living room, you can't see anything. But being the youngest of of us four girls, I was always the first one down the stairs. So lucky me. But I always remember our Christmas morning. Unfortunately, my dad would have been in the barn, so he didn't get to watch us open our gifts. But then usually in the afternoon, we would go over to my grandma's house. So we would be with all my mom's side of the family, the Thompson side, and big Christmas dinner, and that's usually how we spent our Christmas day. But yeah, I have very good memories, fond memories. My parents were very generous as we were growing up. I never had something that I wanted. It seemed that it was always under the Christmas tree, so I was pretty lucky.
And for us, I think my best memory is Christmas Eve. We would always milk early and then head down to my grandma and grandpa Halverson's in New Lisbon. And they had a very small house, but inside that house, there would be 40 to 50 people, all the cousins. My mom came from a family of 7 kids. And so all the cousins would be there. And I can remember walking into a very small kitchen. You'd smell the boiling. And they would also have, or whatever, for the people that didn't like the snot tasting or slimy lutefisk. But yeah, just having everyone, sit around the big table, or us young cousins would be sitting out on the cold porch, and just the wonderful Christmas. There'd be tons of gifts underneath the tree. I think our grandparents bought one gift for everyone, and it was just a special time. And I can remember the decorations and everything vividly. I think the other memory that is kind of interesting is when we lived outside of Elroy. We had a kind of a large house, and down to the basement, which was finished, we would set up our Christmas village. And it was on a long table and just a huge village. And it would take an hour or so to set it up. And then, we'd go upstairs and do some more decorating and come back down to turn everything on. Well, during that time, it was either just Sam or both Sam and Jacob would have taken all of their army men and tanks and actually occupied the village. Amongst all the stores and the people ice skating, in this Christmas village, you'd see the U.S. Army tanks and the World War II men all strategically placed all around the village. So that always brings up a chuckle from years past. And then one last story I want to share. This wasn't really a tradition, but something we did years ago when we lived up on the hill in Elroy next to the Catholic Church is if it snowed enough and the road was slippery enough, Randy Fry and I would take the red sleds and actually slide down that huge hill. We would have to cross Main Street, and of course, cars could be coming through. And one particular night, we set down the neighbor boy down there with a flashlight, and he would turn it on. He would turn it on if a car was coming, and if it was off, we could slide. And one time he failed to turn it on, and Randy went right across Main Street. And this is not an exaggeration. Within a second or two, a semi went right through. I mean, Randy just missed hitting that semi. But another fun memory that we still talk about today. So a lot of good memories, a lot of good times. Right now, I think the thing we miss the most is just having all the kids together on Christmas with Jacob and his family over in Germany. And, we do get together with Sam and his family, but hopefully one of these years we can have everyone in the same house enjoying a wonderful meal.
So Ayla, this past year, just found out there's no Santa Claus. So at what age do you remember that maybe you found out where there was no Santa Claus? I can't remember. I tried to think about it, but I could not remember when. Of course, growing up in a very religious household, Santa Claus wasn't really pushed. I mean, it wasn't, I kind of knew that my aunt, she put the presents under the tree, and we just kind of didn't have that tradition. But it's funny that Ayla this year, and now Dacia, small, thinks there is a Santa Claus, and Ayla's sitting over saying, no, there's not a Santa Claus, so it's kind of,
Not telling.
she's not telling her, but I mean,
She's been helping Rach, like, with the elf on the shelf, figuring
Good.
out different things to do each day.
it's kind of funny. Of course, you remember Sam and Kaylee's wedding. I dressed up as Santa Claus, and there were several pictures taken then. And one of the pictures was when Kayla was in front of me and I had my hands around her. And for years now, she always gets that mug, and she said, "Papa, you were Santa Claus." And I said, No, I wasn't Santa Claus. She said, "Show me your hand." So I'd show her my hand. She said, "Now look at the hand on this cup and look at your hand, right? That is your hand right there."
Well, until you just said this, Tommy, I still believe there was. So now I'm kind of in shock that there isn't a Santa
Well, I
Claus.
told Ale this year, I said, "Look, I don't believe in Santa Claus, but I believe in the spirit of Santa Claus." And she said, "What do you mean?" So I had to explain to her about, helping people and love and all that stuff. And I mean, I still today believe in that. There's, and it's funny now, the NORAD, the weather system and stuff, and now they track Santa on Christmas Eve and show you where he's at and all this stuff, and it's pretty
Yeah, I already
interesting.
checked that out, and he's already flying. So, but Jill's sister has a good belief.
Yeah, Judy always said to her children, she said, if you don't believe in Santa Claus, then he'll never come. So just kind of that open-ended statement. So then you won't get any presents from him anymore. If you don't believe, you won't get any presents from him. So it was just kind of a good way to cap it off. If you don't believe in him, he won't come. So
I remember,
maybe the kids would think,
yeah, I remember when we first started, like when Mike and Ange were born. I mean, we didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out, but boy, come Christmas time, there was tons of presents under the tree, and you'd take till June to pay off the credit cards that you spent on Christmas, back in the day thank God we don't have to do that now, but back then we certainly did have to. And I sometimes think we go overboard. We still do that, but I guess that's a good time of fun. I didn't mention some things that we do now. Like tonight, we'll go to my cousin Erica's house. She has a couple restaurants in the county here, and she's had it for years. It's kind of my dad's side of the family. Rach and Dalvorce will come, and my stepsisters will be there, and they'll be there. So we do that. And then always on Christmas Day, we always had everybody over like in the afternoon. They'd go to their in-laws, and then we'd have a great big Christmas dinner. And this year we're not doing that. So Friday morning, we all leave to go to La Follette, Tennessee, and we rented an Airbnb that all 22 of us is going to be in there for 3 days. So I I will either come out a nervous wreck or I won't make it out. So I don't know which one, but I am taking a rib roast and my ham, and Saturday night I'm making the traditional big Christmas dinner. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, this is what the kids wanted.
Yeah,
About 3 years ago when Drew got married, we had 2 Airbnbs, so the family was kind of divided, but we all played games and they were like, "We want to do that for Christmas instead of presents." And we're like, "Sounds good to us." So
Yeah.
that's what we're gonna
Yeah,
do.
exactly. That's
So
cool.
we'll still go to
My
we'll go to
son on
Rachel's we'll go to
Sunday.
Rachel's tomorrow and watch the Rachel and Dossie open presents, and then actually I don't remember the last. I don't know if we ever did this on Christmas Day, but then we're going to go to lunch and we're going to go see a movie on Christmas. So
Nice.
Yeah, we had my family on Sunday. We got together with those that were healthy, and then Jill and I will head to church tonight and hang, and then tomorrow we're at your place.
Yeah, we're at Judy's, out at the farm with Judy and all the sisters. My mom will be there,
that'll be
and
fun. Yeah.
and we don't even really do presents. All we do is we eat, play cards, sit around, talk, visit. So it's very, very few presents are given out at the families anymore. So
Yeah, I think
we
that's the
just
way to
decided
go.
that
Yeah.
Create the memories.
Yeah, this
create,
year
you know,
this year we're
everybody
gonna
being
do
together in the same room, we feel is pretty important.
We're doing white elephant, so Penny's taking her old dildo that's about to die, and she's going to wrap it up and take it down and give it away. So
Oh, that
Does
was
she
you
know
have to
she can
take
put
something
new
you already
batteries in
own
it?
from your house and take it for the white owl. You can't buy anything.
well, no,
She
you
just,
own this already. It's just worn out.
I was going to say, she just agreed to it.
That's right.
Well, she's got enough of them.
And I'll tell you why. When she turns them on, the lights dim in the neighborhood. So
I think they're dimming up here in Toma.
But I do remember I loved going to the candlelight service there at the church in New Lisbon every Christmas Eve. We enjoyed that so much. That was so pretty.
We enjoyed going to your Christmas party when you guys were
yeah,
here.
I wish. Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. It's just that was such a great time. We had a wonderful time doing that, and we haven't done that since we left there. We attempted it, I think, once somewhere. Maybe it was in Florida. So I don't remember where was that. Maybe Roosterville. But it was not
Maybe.
the same because we had a lot of people there and we had a good time and watched the
Hey, tell me, maybe some
watch the dairy
January we should
watch the dairy farmer double dip and sit on my lap like a you know what.
maybe some January we should rent a place.
I told
You and
Penny that
Penny
we
and
should
Dylan.
come up and rent a community hall and try and do and just
Yeah.
see if we can. It'd be
Yeah.
kind of fun, and they don't have to bring gifts, just to
Yep.
get together, and
Yep.
that'd be
Bring a
fun.
dish to pass, and yeah,
That'd
that'd be a
be
great time.
That is a great idea.
Yep. So
all right.
we want to talk about our
One of the segments we started last week is these pigs went to market, and we want to try to every week talk about a trip. And this week we're going to have Mike and Jill talk about their European Christmas market vacation that they did a couple years ago.
Yes, we actually we had a plan for 2 years ago, and then our son went to Iraq, so we delayed.
Right.
We actually went last year.
Okay.
It was a fantastic trip, and I'm going to post some pictures when I edit this. I'll post some pictures of each of the stops, and I'll rattle off where we went to, and then Jill, you can add maybe some of the foods or things we saw.
If I can remember, sure.
So we flew from the U.S. over to Frankfurt and actually spent a day and a night there just so we could relax and kind of get over the jet lag and stuff. And then we took a train down to Strasbourg, France. And I think we spent 4 days there. And then we took the train over to Munich. And each town after this was like 3 days, except for the final leg. And we spent 3 days in Munich. And then we went to Prague and then took the train over to Krakow and up to Warsaw and then over to Vilnius, Lithuania. And then from there, we flew up to Tallinn, Estonia. And in Estonia, we've been to Tallinn a couple of times and we love it there. So we actually spent about 6 days in Tallinn, but each leg was by train, not a lot of snow. We saw some snow in Lithuania and saw some snow in the Czech Republic. Otherwise, it was just kind of damp and wet, but absolutely beautiful. And like we said, we ended up in Estonia and actually took a day trip over to Narva, which is right on the Russian border. So we got to see Mother Russia, and that was kind of cool to see. Very snowy and cold over there, very different. But Jill, if you want to talk about some of the things we saw, some of the foods we ate.
I guess the big thing, the big draw for me to go to these markets is, first of all, when we go to these European cities, we try to stay or just kind of tour around in the old town, the city center. So we never get out into the industrial part or, the skyscraper section. We kind of stay to the cobblestone streets, the timber buildings, and people go all out over there with the decorations. I mean, the decorations are just incredible. Imagine Rittenhouse, their setup that they have outside of Elroy times 10. I just can't describe what these buildings look like. And then there are so many different foods. Each Christmas market seems to have their traditional food from that particular country to sample. And then certainly the glue vine. And it seems to be, yeah, and the big thing now seems to be collecting the mugs. I was just reading a report that Christmas markets are running out of their ceramic mugs because so many people, when you purchase the glue vine, you pay a little extra. And then when you return your mug after you're done, you get some money back. Well, people aren't returning their mugs. They're collecting them and saving them. So I guess those are the kind of the high points to the markets, but just the beauty of the lights, they usually are crowded. It was just beautiful. I don't know how to describe it any more than that.
And what we like to do once we get to a city is we'll go down to the market immediately during the daylight, and that's unique to see. And like Jill said, the foods are just amazing, and the beer. I just love any beer that comes out of Europe. It's so much better than what we have over here. But then we'll go back to our room maybe for a little bit, and then it's a totally different experience with the lights, with the darkness and seeing the lights, and it's just magical and beautiful. And we're hoping next year to do another Christmas market vacation tour, but I think we're going to stick just to Germany and hit some of the smaller villages throughout Germany. Our son, Jacob, and his wife right now, and Lincoln, our grandson, have been in Strasbourg, France, and they went to Colmar, France, and a few other small villages, and they just got home earlier today, their time, and some of the pictures they shared with us and videos is just absolutely amazing.
And they do have a YouTube station called Becca and Jake, and she's been sharing a lot of the Christmas market experiences. So
Yeah, I saw
it's
some
worth
pictures on
it's worth
Facebook.
It's weird that we don't do that over here. I mean, not every village. I imagine every village over there does something. And, we have a Kris Kringle Mart here in Carmel, and every town kind of has their own ice skating rink or whatever, but we don't really have anything like that over here that, I'm sure maybe other countries do in the world, but it sounds fascinating.
And some of the bigger towns in Stuttgart, when we lived over there, you go down there and there's not only the huge ice skating rink and the markets with probably 100 or so market booths where you can buy stuff, but then they'll have rides too for the kids. They've got train rides and Ferris wheels and carousels and everything you can think of. It's just a really unique experience, and I would recommend it to anyone that wants to get into that Christmas spirit.
We've got a train here that runs, well, it used to be the train and went north and south in Indiana, but it just goes from Noblesville up to Atlanta, Indiana. I don't know, it's probably 10 miles. And then turns around. It's called the St. Nick Express or something. And Penny was going to take the two grandbabies, and it was like $100 a piece to get on that thing. And so, but it's packed. It goes. We hear the train was this time of year all the time, which is kind of cool to hear going back and forth. But which is kind of a unique experience. But
yeah, that would be definitely. It's a great time of the year, that's for sure.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it sure is. It was supposed to be 62 here tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow. So it's not going to feel much like Christmas. Do you have snow on the ground or no?
Very little. It's been in the 40s, and it's not going
Really?
to drop till after Christmas. But it's a little. There's some white out there, which makes it feel a little bit like Christmas. But
Yeah.
yeah, one of the few years we've had snow. We had snow in November and early December, and now it seems to all be melting. So global warming, the climate
Exactly.
change
Yep.
is happening.
That's true. One thing this time of year, though, is football, Mike, and we want to get into a little football. Maybe the ladies won't like that, but Penny gets kind of fired up about that. But we have the college football playoffs. We haven't talked since we saw them since last week, and I think I was the only. I picked Miami. I don't know why I picked Miami because I hate them. So I was perfect last week, and you missed the Miami game. But other than that, but we got some unbelievable games.
I picked
Go ahead.
Oklahoma too. I picked Oklahoma.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You did. That's right. But I picked Oklahoma too, though, because I didn't. I didn't. I picked Alabama. You're right. No, we both picked Texas A&M, and I picked Alabama, and you picked Oklahoma. That's right. That's where it was at. But actually, these games won't be played until New Year's Day and New Year's Eve. I don't know if we're going to do a podcast next week or not, but we got some big games coming up. Oregon, Texas Tech. I don't know. I think the last said it's Oregon -2.5. So I don't know if that's still the odds that you have or not. But, and then Alabama plays Indiana. Alabama plays Indiana in the Rose Bowl. That'll make a big game. And we're not Indiana fans, but we certainly hate Alabama's. And Indiana's 6.5-point favorites, which I guess they have to be since they're number one in the country. But and then Ole Miss goes to Georgia again for the second time this year, and I think they got beat by 10 or 14 last time, and Georgia's 6.5-point favorites. And then the big game, Miami, Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, and that's New Year's Eve night. Ohio State by 9.5, it says. Of course, with Dalvoris, our future son-in-law, and Jake, our grandson, and Austin, our grandson, Ohio State fans, and Dalvoris being a Miami fan, we're going to have a New Year's Eve football watching party here. So we'll see what happens there. Sounds like we're in Europe.
Yeah, I know. Of course, it would go off right when we're taping,
and it's 25 minutes behind.
Yeah, and it's
Well, whoops.
Yeah, I think as we get closer, Tommy, we can make our predictions. I could probably predict right now, but we can
yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. I mean, I know who I want, but again, you never know what's going to happen. But since we last broadcast, the Packers lost a game in Chicago they should have never lost. I mean, and which kind of put a rink in the standings.
It was 16-6 with 3:04 left, and I turned to Sam. He was here watching it with me, and I said, "We're going to blow it. Matt LaFleur needs to go." And I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but the guy, they say it's not his fault that, like Dobbs fumbled the ball or Willis fumbled the ball on that snap or whatever. Yes, it is. I look at it as, when I went to Iraq, if my troops weren't trained, if they weren't or didn't perform what they needed to do, nobody talked to them. It was my ass.
Right.
And it's the same way that I feel with the head coaching. If his team is not prepared, if they can't fall on a fumble, yes, it's their fault, but he is not preparing these guys mentally to play. And, I just, the games they've lost this year, they should have won every one of them, and they cannot win a close game. Yes, they have injuries, but so doesn't every other team. I just feel if we make it to the playoffs, unless a miracle happens, we're going to blow it. Everyone's content with us making the playoffs, just like with Greg Gard and the Badgers. Everyone's content that they make the NCAA, but no one wants that championship. And I think we have wasted so many years with the quality of quarterbacks that we've had and the quality of players. And I'm just sick and tired of our team not being prepared to do what they need to do to win these big games. And it looks like we'll make the playoffs, but I doubt if we'll go very far. So very frustrating.
The last game of the season is going to be against the Ravens. I know Lamar Jackson's hurt or maybe hurt or whatever, but if the Packers lose that, they're not going to make the playoffs. I mean,
well, Detroit has to lose too. We have to lose to the Ravens and to the Vikings, but who knows who's going to show up. And right now it looks like both quarterbacks have been practicing and should be ready to go, this weekend. If not, Josh Jacobs is our third string quarterback.
Yeah, I saw that.
Who knows what would happen there?
It'd be the Wildcat every play, right?
Yeah, it's just frustrating as a fan to watch. 16-6 with 3 minutes left. I think we could have put in the JV team from Royal and held off Chicago Bears. But
it is.
Of course, they can't. It reminded me so much of that Seattle game a few years ago when we flubbed up every single thing that could happen and didn't make the NFC. That was the NFC Championship game, and we ended up not going to the Super Bowl.
Well, we're frustrating the Indianapolis Colts again. If she don't fire the coach and the general manager, because they have a slim 2% chance of making the playoffs, and there's no way it's going to happen. So I would not be shocked if he got fired after the end of the year, because they start off at 7-1 and they're not going to make playoffs. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, again, same thing. This happened, that happened, but I heard somebody the other day, you can't. Those aren't excuses. You can't use those. In the NFL, the next man up. I mean, he should be as good as the guy starting. I mean, it's which makes sense to me. Yeah, it's
millions.
But it's an exciting time of the year for football, and basketball started, of course, and college basketball. We went last Saturday downtown Indianapolis and spent the day and Saw Butler University play Northwestern, which was a good game. Then we saw Purdue play Auburn, and that was a really good game. So, it wasn't a good game. Purdue killed them, but it's an exciting time of the year for college basketball, also.
Yeah. And our high school team, we didn't make it to the game because it was postponed a day because of weather and road conditions. But our boys team had their first defeat. They lost by 1 to Hillsborough.
Really?
Yeah, with 4 seconds to go, one of Hillsborough's main players, I think, did a layup or made a shot, whatever. So they ended up losing by 1. And then our girls fell for their first time this year. They fell to Bangor by 10, but I guess the game was closer than that. It just kind of got away at the end. So both teams suffered their first loss. But what I found interesting is Hillsborough at some point lost to North Crawford by 4 points. Now we lost to Hillsborough by 1. Hillsborough lost to North Crawford by 4, and North Crawford is either number 1 or 2 in the state in D5. Early season, but maybe Royal isn't that far off from where they were last year. So
Yeah, you never
hopefully,
know. We had a holiday tournament yesterday. Our boys team, they hadn't won a game all year. 4 overtimes. Same thing. They have Packer syndrome. They are up 11 going into the fourth quarter and end up getting beat overtime. But they finally won a game yesterday, the consolation game of the tournament, and so now they're off the shide. And then our girls, I think I've told you, 4 freshmen starting. They're 9-2 now for the seasons. It's looking up for the girls basketball team, but some good basketball this time of the year. And speaking of college sports, though, the college volleyball, you get a chance to watch that at all? The volleyball finals?
we didn't watch the championship, but we watched the Badgers, and I bet you they're kicking themselves. They
Oh
should have
my
won
god,
that.
they should have won. They should have won.
Penny gets in. I think I told you guys a million times, but when I first started dating Penny, I was a sports nut and she hated sports. She absolutely could not stand. And I would take the kids by myself to games and stuff. And now during the college volleyball championship, I was taking a shower and this water running. I could hear her screaming and yelling in here at the TV.
Well, Texas, they were just on fire. I mean, they couldn't lose. I mean,
But
they
Texas A&M didn't win the football game, but their volleyball team won the
yeah,
national championships.
Yeah,
they were good.
Yeah,
They
that's
were
exciting.
we're hoping to go see the Badgers next year.
well, because after
Yeah,
Nebraska got beat, I thought Wisconsin had a really good chance, and I was just like,
yeah.
Rach has come
And
up to the alumni tournament in January. I think she's making plans to do that. So we're not good. We can't make it, but she's going to come up and bring the girls, and I think stay with Callie. And she said I got to at least lose a few pounds so I can play, or I won't be able to play. But I don't know. Do you know how many teams they got now, Mike, or anything? Or I see you got some sponsors. Were you able to go get sponsors again, or was that just a post from before? I saw.
No, we did get sponsors. We've got quite a few sponsors. We asked for court sponsors this year, and I know we've got a number of those. I don't have them off the top of my head. And then if they just wanted to sponsor, they could also do that. We got a couple of businesses that have done that. So we raised about $1,700, and people are asking why we're raising money. Well, first we want to pay to have some decent referees, and then help pay for the T-shirts. There was a rumor going around that the players didn't want T-shirts, but I don't think that's true. I think anyone playing would love to have a T-shirt. So we'll make sure everyone gets a T-shirt. And then what we're trying to do is build a pot of money to get more families to come back. We know that a lot of families have young kids. Sam and Kaylee are a good example. So next year, we're hoping to hire 3, 4, 5 good quality young people to watch the littles at the school while, mom or sport, and maybe have some games for the kids and so on and so forth. And, we want to pay those kids to do that. So there's plenty of things we can do with the money. And we're just hoping to grow this. Over the past few years, it seems like the number of people that have entered has declined, but a gentleman by the name of John Atkinson took it over last year and really mixed up the teams, and the kids really enjoyed it and had a fun time. So we're trying to get that word out, trying to get more families to come back, because you can remember in years past, we'd go down to the bar at the end of the day and it would just be packed with people.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we're hoping to grow it each year. And I did speak with John this week, and he's got quite a few people that have entered, and we're just pushing it to hopefully, get more people to enter and play. And and just keep growing it every year. So we're encouraging families to come back with their little ones, and hopefully next year we have daycare, some sort of daycare for them.
Good, good.
That's a great idea. I love that idea because I know, sometimes you don't have grandparents around that can watch them or whatever.
So what I think maybe we covered this, but you've already talked about your plans for this year, and we did too. So we don't really need to talk about Christmas plans. But do you have some numbers for us, Mike? Maybe real quick numbers, or
Yeah, I can do that. So on YouTube, we've had 175 views on YouTube. On my channel is where I posted. It's 1114 Traveler, and I've got 444 followers on there. So we're slowly gaining some views on there. And then as far as our channel, I was excited this morning. We hit our 60th follower, and I know Randy and Kathy Fry subscribed, so maybe that one finally took. And we hit our 60th follower, but we've had 579 plays on Spotify. And as far as the analytics, we've had 1,216 impressions. And again, an impression is when it comes up on someone's phone or computer as seeing us. And most of our searches are through Spotify, Spotify search or Spotify home. And then our audience, it's 70% male, 23% female, 6% haven't specified. Our biggest listeners are in the age of 60 plus. And then close behind them are the 28 to 34-year-olds. And then from 35 to 59 make up about 28% of that. And I found this interesting. On Spotify, 86.8% of our listenership is from the United States, and 0.7% is from Brazil. And then there must be, obviously that doesn't equal 100%. So there's got to be a smaller sprinkling throughout the world of people listening somewhere. And when that stat, gets high enough, hopefully that'll show up. But yeah, I found it interesting. Obviously, the majority of our people from the United States, and then Brazil. So Tommy, I was thinking maybe we should go down to Brazil, down to Rio sometime and just walk around and see who's listening, and
that's
maybe
true.
on the beaches or whatever.
Yeah, on the beach, hit that nude beach. Yeah, we could walk around, and I could
Well,
carry,
I'm
I could
not.
carry, I could carry 2 cups of donuts. I mean, 2 cups of coffee and a dozen. Well, now I can only carry one donut.
Not into the nudity. I just want to go down and find who's listening to us.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, me too. Me too.
Oh,
Hey, as we look
Charlie.
we can do. I mean, we might as well do one of these next week, maybe New Year's Eve during the day or something. But I kind of was giving some thought to maybe what we want to do next year, and you and I have thrown some ideas out for this podcast, and we would love to hear from our listeners what if they got any ideas. But one of the first things we got to figure out how people can call in. I really think that would change the dynamic of the show, and if we could have somebody call in and just have them ask us questions, and we could start talking about things like that. And then the next thing we figured out maybe how we can have guests on, so maybe we can do that in the future too. So, I just think that we need to grow it a little bit. And as we was trying to set this up, Penny said we need a technician to come in here. I said, well, our plans is to have a studio on the outskirts of Chicago, and Mike and I'll drive there once a week and do our podcast, and then
Yeah, we got your letter, and thanks for putting the push for our podcast.
Yeah, I put that in every one I sent out, so hopefully maybe some people will listen. Who knows? Or they at least listen once, maybe. I find it interesting that over 60 is our main audience, and the reason for that is once again I say they listen to us while they're taking a nap. So I mean, it's but it doesn't matter as long as they listen, right?
That's right.
One thing I want to experiment with, Tom, is I know we can do this live. So I think we could do it live, and either people will figure out how they can call in, or I think that, if they're watching us like on their computer, they could type a question to us that we could read and answer over the air. But we'll test that sometime and see if we can do that.
Yeah, is there any way to find out how many people listen live? Well, they don't because we recorded. We know, but yeah, we're not live yet. That's right. That's right.
No.
Right.
But it would show on the bottom.
Yeah, it would show. So maybe we'd get one or two.
Yep.
I mean, we could advertise we're going to be live and see if anybody tunes in. I mean, that'd be interesting. Now, could they?
Yeah.
So they could tune in right now on Spotify and watch us live?
Not right now, because it's recording and uploading us. If we
Okay.
went live, I believe it would be projected out through Spotify or YouTube Live
Okay.
that way.
Okay. All right.
In.
All right.
Interesting enough, every time I post, I've got one young man outside of Elroy, Brandon Lee. It seems like he comments almost every week. He loves listening to us. He enjoys us. A lot of people commented on Lee, our Vietnam veteran. And actually, we had Lee down on Monday. What's today? Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday.
We had him down on Monday for his birthday, and his son and daughter-in-law showed up, and they have 2 or 3 other Vietnam vets in the area that they're friends with. And one of them that I thought would be very interesting was a door gunner in Vietnam. And,
Really?
so maybe down the road we could have him on and talk about his experiences being a door gunner.
You know what? Since we can have guests now, maybe you have one and I have a Vietnam vet, and we just let them kind of talk, amongst each other and where they're at and all that stuff. That'd be kind of. We've got a member of our school board that also runs the clock at our basketball games. He's done it for years. Is a Vietnam vet, and his name's Arnie Cooper. He'd probably be a good guy to have on. I mean, and he probably would do it. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
that would be a good
'Cause
idea.
One comment I received was, not a lot of Vietnam vets talk about their stories. And
No.
so for people to hear that, I think they find it interesting, and it's also, I think, therapeutic for these men. So we'll see what we can do.
All right. Hey, great seeing you guys.
Yeah.
You too.
You too.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And you want to plan on doing one next week, Wednesday?
I think so.
Okay, we'll
think
figure
so.
out something. Okay.
You bet.
All right.
Well, have a great Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you
Merry
too.
Christmas. Love you guys.
Say hi to
You too.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Goodbye. Wait till he says